Hey everybody. So yesterday I finished up animating the Z's, and that has made like it's a night and day difference, right? Like the animations have basically are so much better now because I can animate in all three directions. So it is like truly 3D. Um, so this and so I finished that up, and it was smooth as silk. So it made me feel really good about the architecture of the mesh animations. Then I kind of wasn't sure if I wanted to continue making mesh more robust and more like concrete, or if I wanted to try to wedge lights in at this point before mesh has become more concrete, because there was a possibility I would do something in meshes that would make like lights, animating lights, impossible or very, very traumatic. And so I decided to go with lights, and that I think that is smart. Um, Now the reality of this is that this whole thing is still like a proof of concept, just proving that these things are possible. And there's still a couple more things that I need to prove. From the animations perspective, I need to prove that I can animate the cameras, that I can animate the scene, like the colors, background colors in the scenes, that kind of thing. And then the final big boss that I need to figure out in this proof of concept is, can I make like a reasonable export import at all that's like exporting to JSON and importing from JSON? Can I store those sorts of things in these things into like local storage? Could I have create like sort of some kind of cool um, RESTful interface backend that I could store these things in, and store other things like pictures, like photographs and stuff that might, that you can attach to different pieces. Like there's so many this proof of concept still is not proven, right? Like this is a really cool application. I'm really just truly pleased as punch with it, but it's still in the POC stage, and we still have a strong possibility of finding something that like where I made an architectural decision that then painted me into a corner that makes doing something that I would like to be able to do in the final application impossible or unreasonable. So that's where we're at. So I moved to lights. So that's kind of the hey how I got here. Second part is what are we looking at here? And what we're looking at is 7 meshes, I believe. Um, and let's see, there's 3, 6, 8, 9 meshes. We've got a main mesh in the middle, and we got 8 on the outside. And they kind of go off into every direction with the middle one coming straight at us. So if I pause this thing and I move this, I can be like, oh, okay. Oh, actually, right here, I would like my Z position to be, I would like this to be bigger in the screen, and I would like maybe some just nothing for minute. So let's see. If I change that from 6 to 9, okay. What if I make it 19? Okay, that's nice. Let's see what we get if I unpause it. That's pretty cool. I kind of like the way it was before a little better. But let me unpause it and see if I can catch it. So that is really cool, actually. Um, that's not so cool. So now I can use the keyboard to move back and forth on this little guy. And so I think that's a pretty cool screen cap, anyways. Uh, Maybe that's the better one. Or that might be better. But anyways, I think it's pretty cool, and the tool can do some amazing things at this point. Um, if I were to kind of take a quick turnaround and be able to add images or whatever, I could imagine myself being able to build like add photographs to each one of these corners, and then build like a really cool animation for my wife's business, like a crafty by Melissa, and maybe a bunch of her different uh, tumblers that she's made, and then like maybe 6 different pictures uh, of her at work in her TikTok business. So that would be pretty cool. So, anyways, yeah, I could definitely see a lot of potential. We're not quite to being able to build anything super like useful and productive yet, but we are getting there very quickly. So yesterday I focused on moving the lights, making the lights animationable, to make them to where they can be animated as well. And so whenever you're kind of doing a bigger, like whenever I'm doing a bigger sort of task, I have to break it down into smaller pieces. I generally code for about 15-20 minutes after, and then I kind of make a video about where I'm at about every 15 or 20 minutes. Um, so it was definitely way too much to try to code the whole making the lights animatable in one session, one 15-20 minute session. So basically, I broke it down into pieces, and the first piece was basically just to try to get the make it to where the interface works for the item. So, like if you look at our interfaces for mesh animated, I'm surprised. I thought I made it. Oh yeah, animation interfaces. So could start from the top down. Basically, I brought the light interface in and said that an animation pair can be a mesh interface or a light interface, and all hell broke loose the minute I did that. All kinds of stuff was broken all over the place, and that's because there's a lot of places where it's going over an item and looking for specific things, and the light interface doesn't have things that the mesh interface has. And so I had to find a way to differentiate between a light interface and a mesh interface. And it's kind of funny because when you look at the properties of the 3JS objects, I saw that like a light and a mesh call themselves, have a type of a light or a mesh. And I was like, why in the world would they do that? And here I am. And yeah, you kind of, if you want to be able to do stuff across different kinds of objects, the object needs to know what kind it is. So basically, in mesh interface, I had to add a type. So I can write code that says if I am typed mesh, do this. And then in light interface, I had to add a type, and then I also had to add that it was animated. And then, so I basically went through the code and kind of got all the compile issues fixed in that situation. And then once that was done, I added this animation property descriptor. So basically, just like in mesh interface, as we've made things animated, we've used this generic um, type to tell it that it is of a type property type descriptor. So that works. There's no reason that doesn't work in light interfaces, and it makes a lot of sense to use the same thing. So just as a quick reminder, an animation type descriptor has a start value and end value, and it's animated. I believe I will be adding another thing at some point in the future that says like type, and then like it'll be like circular or linear, which is what we have right now, and or curved, which would be like curve, or circular, which would be like a circle, which would make my eclipses awesome. I can't wait for that one. And then probably like a random, and then kind of get you from point A to point B randomly, getting closer. And then maybe physics, like I would love to get a physics engine installed, and then possibly like what is it, Perlin noise. All those things would be really really cool. And it's going to take years. It's going to take years to get that done. Um, and it's just me coding, and honestly it's probably faster with just me coding at this point. um, like I think there are things that we could do, like if I had a team, or if I was working in a team organization, that would be great for a team to sort of take over. One of the things would be like in these meshes and lights and stuff, you could add new types of lights, you could add new properties to meshes, new types of message. There's like meshes for like letters. typography, stuff like that. Those things would work. Animation really needs to be like a one person job, I think, for at least another probably 10, 15 sessions before we'd be able to say, oh, okay, now we can just start unleashing and having any person, because just the basic foundations of how animations are going to work is going to be fluctuating for a while. I probably should change this time to like 15 minutes or something. But no, I think 10 minutes is still a good goal to aspire to and fail at. But anyway, so linear will, I mean, type will come at some point, I hope. So I don't want to box myself into where that's not possible. So to continue on, I think the next best thing to go over would be the animation, or probably the light HTML. So the light HTML, so as we've seen with everything else, as we've converted from a static to an animated property, we have to show the start value the um, in the position. So I'm working on the X position first, and so if I didn't do this, it would X position as an object. It would just show object. So that was simple. And then in the light, so in add light, basically the old just zero didn't work anymore. I had to make this like a start value, end value, and I set the default animation to false. And then I had to tell it that it's not I said that the whole object is not animated. So in this system, you can animate individual things and you can animate the whole object. Now, this probably isn't necessary. Well, it is. It's going to be necessary. At this point, you can't actually change this. So that probably should be animated true. At some point, you'll be able to turn off animation. I don't even know if that is necessary now that I think about it. Because, like, if you have the end value, well, no. Once circular comes in, the end value and start value would be the same. So in order to turn it off, so at some point we probably will need this, but right now we don't need this. It's just there. Um, and then I set its type to light. And then we have to make the basic same changes that make total sense everywhere. Basically, the X position of the form is just the start position. This form does not show the end position. And then when we get the value back out of the form, we need to put it in the start position of the item. All that is very clear. I think it's very obvious that we have to sort of do this mapping situation, because when you're just building out the static light, all you're showing is start position because it's not animated. Now, when I'm working on these things, it would be nice to be I think I might move animated to here, or maybe I'll make it where you can select which fields are displayed up here and make them editable from here, because it is kind of a pain in the butt when you're working on a bunch of meshes to go in and animate every one at a time. But okay, so there's that. I did have to make a change to Mesh Manager, and that was so that I could add the type. And that makes sense. And then, so the last changes. So just to sum up, oh, well, I haven't. Okay, sum up what we've done so far. So basically, I made the obvious changes to the interfaces that just make sense to convert something from animated to not animated. So in this case, there's two somethings. There's a property and the whole light, the whole mesh, or the whole object itself. And then in the Mesh Manager, since I had to add a type, I had to add that to the add function, so that the mesh would know it's a mesh. And then in the light component, Light Manager, I had to add all the stuff that you just typically have to add when you update a position in something. So that kind of brings us up to where we're at right now now that's everything I've gone over. So I'm going to go to services now. So the services in add light, that makes sense. Basically, we're going to set the light position to the start value now whenever you add a light, not to the position, because that's an object. And in update light, same deal. So then the last piece, let's see, animated items. Um, okay, so this is where like the so I'm kind of a bit out of order. I probably should have done this before I did the last thing. Um, so basically, the compiler broke almost instantly because it's saying, "Hey, update mesh expects a pair item that's a mesh interface, and it might be a light interface." So I had to say if type is equal to mesh, then send it to update mesh, and then added a console log. So this, like a lot of people use to dos, this is not something that in a production environment that I would commit. This is sort of the like if I was at the end of the day and I've been working my butt off all day long and I'm making stupid mistakes, then this is the kind of thing I would do just so that in the morning I know where to continue. Um, and that was all the changes to that. And then in animation property component, yeah, there's all kinds of changes. And this thing broke like crazy. And I think I might have even, yeah. So basically, it's saying that the table data um, is a table interface, and a table interface, uh, has these things, and it was upset that a light interface may not have these things. I don't really actually understand that. I'm gonna have to figure that one out. Um, but what I did was I had it filter the lights out, only return the meshes, and then I had to actually hard code that it is a mesh interface, and that's what fixed the TypeScript. I'm guessing that's going to be cleaner after my next session. Um, and then I added another console log. And honestly, for me, console logs have become sort of a thing that I use a lot because in most organizations, the linter um, won't let you commit a console log, or at least it won't let you put a yeah they'll fail, so at least you can't put it into PR, which is a great feature. So then this is like a way that I can make sure that I never forget to do this. So in get name, this failed uh, because it doesn't really the compiler doesn't realize that I've filtered out all of the non-mesh interfaces, and for some reason it's not expecting a name. Ah, okay, that's the thing. Okay, so that's cool. So I just realized that a light interface, no light. Oh, for a light interface, a name doesn't have to exist. Is that the same way with mesh? I thought that was the same way with mesh interface. Ah, but it's required for a mesh interface. So I think I need to make it required, and then that problem will go away. So that's awesome, Blossom. Um, so um, so now we know. So that will actually clean that up. This won't need to be um, the compiling issue for TypeScript will go away as soon as I do that. But that doesn't mean that I will still probably have to make changes, but maybe not. Maybe it'll just show up perfectly in this. That'll be the very first thing I do as soon as I get off of this recording. And then finally, an update, a very similar situation where it was updating the property name, um, and I guess it was upset because of the name. I don't know, but anyways, that is where we're at. The next steps are definitely going to be to fix that TypeScript issue and try to get the lights to show up in here. And if once that's done, the next step after that is going to be to update the animation interfaces so that the three object isn't just supported meshes, it's also supported lights. And then once supported lights are in here, then and the next thing will be in services to go down to the animations and add the functionality that allows uh, these animations to not just go over the mesh items, but to also go over the light items, um, and move those around. And just a quick spoiler alert: a light can't be displayed by it, or a point light, which is the only thing we support. I support right now is point lights, and it cannot be displayed by itself. It's just invisible. You can just see its only effects. So um, it'll probably need to have a corresponding. If we want to see the little um, light moving around, um, actually have a visual indicator that it'll need a mesh, like it'll need like a corresponding mesh. But if I want to show it, but if all I want is the light, the effects of the light show up, then that's possible. Anyways, that's a 20-minute video. I'm gonna work on trying to make these things faster. But as always, happy coding. Bye.